All right, hello, data lovers, and welcome to another I Love Data Fridays video. This video is from Volume 2 of our I Love Data Fridays series from January 8th, 2017. And in particular, this video is from the first question we got on that I Love Data Fridays. And it's a question about year-end observation scores for incomplete students. And who's talking data to you today? Well, of course, you have me, Jeff Breimer-Bashore, Director of IT and Operations here at the International Data Evaluation Center. And with me for this video is Richard Terry, our systems analyst. Hello, Richard.
Hey, Jeff.
How's it going?
It's going pretty good today.
All right, you ready to talk some data?
Always.
All right, let's talk some data. So I'm going to have Richard read our question here. Go for it.
I love your idea of Data Fridays. Here's a question. Incomplete students are those who participate in reading recovery in the spring, but who are determined not to be reading and writing at average levels by the end of the school year. I am wondering what percentage of these incomplete children, nationally, are actually reading at text levels 16 to 24. That's STAY 9's 4 to 6, the average band, at the end of the year. It would probably be most useful to see this information disaggregated, divided up by the specific STAY 9s. STAY 9-4, Scott Forsman, text level 16. STAY 9-5, Scott Forsman, text level 18 to 22. STAY 9-6, Scott Forsman, text level 24. This question could be further investigated in terms of the other 5 observation survey tasks. I am interested in this question because I see many students designated as incomplete at year-end whose scores look solid enough to actually designate them as discontinued. I know that the observation survey scores are not the only measure to be considered in terms of determining end-of-program status, but often the incomplete group is much too large for my satisfaction, and this is one of the pieces of data I have been considering in terms of troubleshooting the situation.
All right. Yeah, thank you, Rich. I think this is a good question. I think a lot of teacher leaders may be seeing sometimes this in their data. So let's get right to it. Let's talk a little data. I had Rich create some data where he's comparing our discontinued students to our incomplete students, and we took all 6 tasks of the observation survey plus a total score, and we looked at the percentage of the students that were in STAY 9s 4, 5, and 6. And before we get into that, I think it might be worth our time to actually, where do we find the STAY 9s for our observation survey scores? So I'm going to drag another window over here, and it's a web browser to our website. And you can find our STAY 9s, the STAY 9s for the observation surveys tasks by going to our publications link, clicking on that. And I am going to scroll down to the methodology section, and we have the U.S. norms for the tasks of an observation survey for early literacy achievement. We'll click on that. It will download. We will open it. And in this document, you will find the STAY 9s for each of the tasks of the observation survey. I'm scrolling down here on page 5. It's where the first task starts. It's letter identification. And you will see the STAY 9 groups right here. And just so you know that for all of our tasks, the STAY 9s are broken down we've got fall STAY 9s, mid-year STAY 9s, and year-end STAY 9s. So when you look up a child's score and want to see what the STAY 9 is, make sure you use the right STAY 9s from the correct time of year. And so you'll see that we have one section for each task of the observation survey. I won't go over all of them, but there was concept about print and the Ohio word test. All right, I'm going to move that out of the way. And we're going to look at a little data here. So let me bring over spreadsheet that Rich has created. Rich, why don't you go ahead and explain the table that you created for the video here?
Okay, so what we have is we have the 6 observation survey scores and also the OS total score. And we've got which percentage of students fell into which STAY 9 ranges for discontinued and incomplete. So we've got discontinued there for STAY 9s 4, 5, and 6, and what percentages. And then we also have incomplete, and that's for STAY 9s 4, 5, and 6 as well. And if you're not 100% certain as to which STAY 9s fall into which range for which observation test over on the right there, we've got that broken out as well.
All right, thank you, Rich, for sharing that table with us, describing it. So before we talk data, I'm going to make a quick chart here using our table. There we go. I'll make the font a little bigger. Excellent. Okay, now, and we're not going to start with text reading level. I'm actually going to start down here with the OS total score to start the conversation. Now, if you're not comfortable using the OS total score, here's just a quick overview of the observation survey total score. So this is a composite score, all right? So this score is calculated by taking a child's score on all 6 tasks of the observation survey, adding them up. This gives you a raw score, and then using the raw score, you look up a scale score, and this scale score ranges from 0 to 800, and you can look up scale scores in the US norms document we just looked at earlier on page 14. And basically the score we get, the scale score, just gives us a sense of the child's overall literacy and comprehension mastery, all right? So the higher the score, the more proficient the child is. It doesn't tell us where they're strong or weak. That's what the individual scores tell us. It just gives us an overall sense of the child's literacy and comprehension mastery. All right, so let's go back to our data. So now, I believe our teacher leader is wondering if some of the incomplete students, if they really are, can be discontinued students. Do their data seem to suggest that they are strong enough to be considered discontinued? So I'm starting here with the OS total score, and if you look at the chart, these 3 bars are for our discontinued students, and each bar represents the percentage of kids that are in that stay 9. So for example, here in 5, stay 9 5, on the OS total score for discontinued students, 27% of the kids are in stay 9 5. All right. And then here we have our incomplete kids. Once again, the percentages for the kids who are in stay 9s 4, 5, and 6. So the kids who are right there in the average range. And the OS total score seems to suggest that, yes, that maybe some of our incomplete kids, according to the data, might be strong enough to be discontinued kids. We are seeing kids on the OS total score falling in within stay 9s 4, 5, and 6. But now, that doesn't say for sure. It's just suggesting that maybe there are. And I think what we can do real quick is we can kind of look at some of the other scores and see if we see sort of similar percentages of kids, or are we seeing a differing in percentages? So here's hearing and recording sounds and words. If we do a quick summing of the percentages, let's see, 6% plus 13, that's 19, 19 plus 28. About 47% of our kids are in that average band. So now over here in our incomplete section, we've got 13% plus 17% plus an additional 20. So that's about 50%. So we have half of our kids, almost about the same amount, a little bit more than our discontinued kids in that average band range. So they're similar there. Now, I'm not going to go through each one. I'm going to pick one where it's actually different. I'm going to go up to text reading level, and you'll notice a big difference with the text reading level. Most of our discontinued kids fall right here in the stay 9 5 average band, and a little lower percentages in the 4 and 6s, but they are still in that average band range. But you can see with our incomplete kids that we certainly have a less percentage of our kids here in the average band on text reading level. So now, what this might say is that I think what we might be seeing is that teachers are detecting that, when they're administering text reading levels, they're seeing that the incomplete students are not quite as strong on the text reading level, which is maybe why they're coding them as incomplete instead of discontinued. So there we are. There's another little talk data session here on I Love Data Fridays. Once again, I want to thank you for listening, and we'll talk data to you later.